So, Courtney, on Pro Football Talk, Mike Florio said that if the Bears wanted to sign Caleb Williams now, they could, per that
Mhm.
NFL rule that allows them to do that. Would that surprise you if they did something
Yes.
like that?
Oh my God, like circumventing the draft, like the league would be furious about that. I had this conversation with somebody the other day that technically there is no provision for them or nothing prohibiting them from doing that. But because and the reason that conversation comes up is that it feels like a formality at this point that they have to like wait the 10 minutes on draft night to be able to turn the pick in, and then we hear Caleb Williams, Chicago. Like, we know it's going to happen at this point. He just went through the top 30 visit. He was there on Tuesday, had dinner with Bears brass, and we hear a couple players were also involved, like getting to know him. And that's something I actually asked Matt Eberflus about at owners meetings last week, that would there be a chance for him to, I don't know, like gel ahead of time, like to make, have like one final box be checked, get the interaction with him and some players. And I think it was, somebody had reported, I think it might have been Sylvie, that there were a couple players at that dinner at Sophia Steak on Tuesday night, which is a great sign. And it just further points to the confidence that this organization has to go ahead and make Caleb Williams their next quarterback. As far as we know right now, there are no other top 30 visits scheduled for any of the top quarterback prospects. And from what we've heard, this is very likely the only visit that Caleb Williams is going to take. So we're 2.5 weeks away from this thing now. If they wanted to do that, Dion, they could, but I don't think that they want to, get in the crosshairs of the NFL and do something that would be completely unprecedented ahead of the draft and take away a lot of the spotlight for what that number one pick is going to yield for the NFL.
Courtney, I'm so hyper-focused on the NFC North. We know what's happening with the Bears because we read from you from ESPN.com. We know Caleb Williams is going to be the number one pick. Well, I am interested in the draft, but I'm also interested in the division, like what's happening with the Vikings. Because if the Bears are going to make this move, all these teams can't be over 500. At least I don't believe that they can. So I just want to find out from you what's going on in Minnesota, Green Bay, and Detroit as far as what they want to do. Because if the Bears are going to make a move, someone has to slide.
Yeah, and it's a division that you have to have a quarterback to compete in. We learned that last year. Like, it was truly magnified last year when Cousins goes down in Minnesota, and you see how that team slides to a losing finish and, drafting 11th overall. And obviously we know what happened with the Bears and why they made the switch at quarterback to be able to contend with Green Bay and Jordan Love and Jared Goff in Detroit. And I think that this is the year where the NFC North gets that attention that the AFC North has gotten the last couple of years, where there is intrigue around every quarterback in the division for some reason or another. When Chicago, it'll be because they have the number one overall pick, because it'll be Caleb Williams ushering in a new era of Bears football. In Minnesota, if they can get to 4 and get J.J. McCarthy the way that I think that's got to play out in order for them to get that prospect, then it becomes a similar sort of, draw for NFL fans, and especially for fans in this division. Like, is J.J. McCarthy ready to step in right now? Is he, because there is so much unknown about him as a prospect, considering the offense he was in at Michigan, is he somebody who has arm talent that we just haven't seen yet, and we're going to be blown away by how Kevin O'Connell wants to use him? All of that said, there's still 2 quarterbacks in this division who, as of right now, are the front runners to lead their teams back to, a first and second place finish respectively in the NFC North. And the additions, Chicago has the least amount of draft capital of any of the teams in the NFC North. I know that the Vikings have, I think it's like double-digit picks somewhere in there. And, with Green Bay, the spots that they need to fill, certainly on defense, but like they've got their biggest question mark answered, and they did it in 2020. That, like, outside of like whatever other like elements they want to add, whether, in Detroit there's defensive pieces certainly in the secondary that they're going to be looking at. With Green Bay, do they need another weapon for Jordan Love? I feel like those, the Christian Watson pick it came along this year for them. There were some other elements in that run game too. Now that with the departure of Aaron Jones, like, how does that yield their strategy this year? Like, all of those things are part of the fabric of the NFC North, but the 2 biggest, the 2 teams that are going to grab all the headlines during the draft in this division are the teams that need quarterbacks.